So, welcome to Detroit Lions News Podcast on J Sports YouTube page. I'm your host, Chapp. We're talking about the Detroit Lions right now because there's a certain member of the Detroit Lions who has been a key figure of this Detroit Lions team, a key figure in the Dan Campbell era regime change. He's been a key figure on the defense. He's been an absolute stalwart at the linebacker position. He's been absolutely key at the linebacker position, developing a guy like Jack Campbell. And when you hear about a guy like Alex Anzalone wanting a contract, you think, okay, what does he want from the Detroit Lions? And when you think about what he wants from the Detroit Lions, it's got to be a, a good amount. And you got to look at Alex Anzalone for what it is. He's a 30-year-old player with injury history. The negotiation power is not on Alex Anzalone's side. Now, Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network said what we have been feeling this whole entire time. He says, from inside training camp on NFL Network, Lions linebacker Alex Anzalone has returned to practice with fans chanting, "Pay the man" ahead of his contract year. As of now, I'm told there is no momentum toward a contract extension. And that's where you're going to be. I mean, I know a lot of fans, they want to pay the guy because of what he's meant to the Detroit Lions. I know there's a lot of people that are excited to get him back. He was a key figure last year as your whole defense was decimated with injuries. He came back with one arm and played, which was splendid, but it doesn't warrant a contract extension. Like, no matter what you say. And even Pat Kerwin, who was a former front office executive, even said, look, all the negotiation power is on the Detroit Lions. It just is. Alex Anzalone has had injury history here in Detroit alone. He's had injury history going back to Florida. We all know that. So he doesn't get the benefit of the negotiation power. And it might be hard for some fans to understand, but the reality of the situation is this. As a negotiator, you can't just give everyone what they want. You got to have a give and take. A guy like Aiden Hutchinson, you pay the man. A guy like Kirby Joseph, who led the league in interceptions, all pro, you pay the man. Brian Branch, you're going to pay the man. You paid St. Brown. You're going to pay, you paid Jared Goff. You paid Penei Sewell. You paid Ali McNeil. The guys that you believe could be here and could be linchpins of your team, you pay. But you can't pay everyone because you'll start to get in a situation where one player is going to be like, I want this and I won't back down from it. Or they'll hold out or do something stupid. The Detroit Brad Holmes has shown that he's not gonna bid against himself. He's not gonna bid against an agent. He's not gonna bid against a player. He's gonna make the best move for the franchise moving forward. And that's what Brad Holmes is supposed to do. He's not supposed to make irrational decisions. He's not made to make these just dumb decisions that could come back to haunt him. He knows he's got a tight cap for the next couple of years, especially when they pay Hutch, especially if they pay Brian Branch, Laporta, Gibbs. There's a lot of contracts coming down the line. Brad Holmes, as a drafter, he's drafted extremely well. And he's gonna put together the best roster. But in order to put together the best roster, he's got to remain firm on contract negotiations. He cannot just say, yeah, we're going to give Alex Anzalone what he wants. We're going to give this guy what he wants. We're going to pay Zadarius Smith $14 million if that's reported what he wants. Brad Holmes cannot bid against himself. His cap is coming up the rear end, and he has some players to pay that he's going to have to pay. And he can't negotiate against himself because then with those negotiations, those players, agents are going to look at him like, I can get anything I want out of this guy. He's going to back down if you put him in a corner. And Brad Holmes isn't going to back down. It just isn't. And if any general manager that you had backs in a corner, you have a bad general manager. The best general managers make the best decisions for the franchise for years to come. That's what Brad Holmes is doing. I would love to pay Alex Anzalone the money that he wants to be paid, but ultimately it comes down to two things. Are you going to be a key piece in our future at the age that he is he going to be a key piece of the future? And who is going to be the key piece of the future at the linebacker position? They already paid Derek Barnes. You know Jack Campbell is going to come, whether they pay Jack Campbell or not. Like, this is some things that he has to kind of weigh because not everyone can get paid. That's just a simple part of it. You hope that everyone can get paid, but there's not as much to go around that could, for everyone to get paid. So I know for fans that are like saying, pay the man, give him his money. Brad Holmes can't afford to just pay a guy the money. He can't. But that's what he's going to have to do from here on out. So we'll talk to you in another video as we talk more Detroit Lions football here on JC Sports.